everyone, and welcome on this session. We are going to address a special thing today. We are going to talking about how to strengthening the solution, nature-based solution in the national NDC. To make this, we have on this session an international panel coming from Cameroon. We have Serge Ebode, which is working with ADYL. We also have Mr. Moses coming from Uganda. We have our friends Lorena from Mexico. We have Madame Ebode coming too from Cameroon, which is going to address the issue of agriculture on how nature-based solution can help to do that. We have Huawei, our friends coming from Australia and from Canada, ladies and gentlemen. We have Philip from Canada. So, ladies and gentlemen, for this panel, we are going to starting on what it's all about when we're talking about nature-based solution. To address that, I have in front of, near of me, Mr. Serge. Serge, alors comment est-ce que vous percevez la question de solutions basées sur la nature?
Merci Blondel de me passer la parole. Je vais brièvement résumer le contexte dans lequel nous sommes. Je vais commencer par une définition. Quand on parle des solutions fondées sur la nature, on parle ici des solutions qui permettent la restauration, la gestion et la protection de l'écosystème, donc de manière durable. Bon, quand on parle aussi de ça, on devrait aussi parler des défis qu'on devait relever, des défis globaux. Et évidemment aussi, on peut parler des différents défis au niveau de la vie, des besoins humains. Bon.
Okay. Thank you, Serge. Moses, you are a youth leader. You are working with the organization in Uganda. How do you perceive how you think at your level solution based on nature can help to reinforce or to make this strong the NDC in your country, for example?
When it gets to nature-based solutions in Uganda, I think one of the things that we can't exclude is land restoration. We majorly have to talk about land restoration in the conversations of how we can increase agriculture products and produces. When we talk about land restorations, there are several ways, several means that we can actually attain the lands that we need and also make biodiversity flourish in the same context, of which that's something that is actually going to be helping us in tackling climate change as one of the problems that we are actually encountering. And I think land-based solutions are actually put there to make sure that they tackle the societal challenges that we are facing right now, like food insecurity, like you highlighted. We are talking about water scarcity and climate change. And if we are tackling climate change using land-based solutions, that means that we are actually talking about food security. We are also hoping in the securing food security for the people in Uganda. And we have to use methods that we've actually used like in the organizations that I work with, Trees for the Future, Forest Gardening, and CYE Believe Network, the organization that I co-found, methods like agroforestry, which is termed as forest gardening, where we encourage communities to use agroforestry in a way that they plant trees and they also be earning something from the mechanism that we are using, because we also we provide trees to make sure that they take care of the trees. We provide seedlings of of vegetables like cabbages, tomatoes, where they can earn a living from the things that they have planted, but also take care of the trees that we need to make sure that they help in the curbing of carbon.
Okay, thank you, Moses. This is a really amazing situation that you are living in your country, and it's really interesting. You have to listen another person from Mexico in the south of America. We have Lorena. Lorena, what is all about solution based on nature in your country?
Yes, I think in my country we cannot talk about nature-based solutions if we don't talk about indigenous communities, which work in the front line and work every day to conserve and sustain the earth. Even though they only represent 6% of our population, they're saving 60% of our planet. So I think I would like to acknowledge that from them. And the solution I would like to talk about the most would be water and the solutions that some communities have done to avoid it, which is reforestation to tackle the flooding of
Thank you, Lorena. Now we're going to switch, going back to Africa. Madame Ebode, les solutions fondées sur la nature peuvent-elles améliorer les rendements agricoles? Si oui, comment est-ce que vous percevez cela au niveau du Cameroun?
Les solutions fondées sur la nature peuvent bien améliorer le rendement agricole. C'est pour ça que le thème a été bien choisi. Si AVD a choisi ce thème, ça veut dire qu'ils ont vu l'importance du thème. Puisque là où nous sommes, quand on regarde que ça regarde tout ce qui est de l'écosystème et les défis à relever. Donc, l'AVD étant une association d'action vitale pour le développement durable, a vu ce thème pour lancer son appel et appuyer les 65 millions qu'on a, la COP venait de nous faire avoir pour le développement, pour appuyer comme finance à l'Afrique, au pays en voie de développement.
Okay, merci, Madame Ebode. Actually, we have another presenter, another person that we would like to hear. We have Wewu, which is coming from Australia. Wewu is, you are going to talk about a project that working on the progress, which is working on the blockchain into insensitive nature-based solution. What is all about the project that you would like to talk?
Yeah, so should I just talk about the project for the next few minutes?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's good. So a bit of background, my name is Wewu from Australia, and I don't have a nature-based solution to propose. We have some technology that might help. And I come from Smart Token Lab. We have Alpha Wallet, Alchemy NFT, that's blockchain projects. You probably haven't heard of them, but it's okay. So the thing, let's take it back to the nature-based solution, and what we discover as I work with Jean-Paul from AVD is that there are desired things. There are absorptions that we desire from NbS, and we want nature-based solutions to be community-oriented, eco-resource driven. That was I understood, and it has to be financed, but not from the rich vendors. And in implementing these solutions, we don't want corporates to do trade washing, and we don't want unsustainable development where the forests are restored and later they are used again for agricultural purpose, or that we don't want community to be hurt, or we don't want lack of action, which from my perspective, lack of action means that players not sufficiently incentivized. And so that brings this understanding brings me to a blockchain-based solution, but I will need to explain very quickly what blockchain is about, because I'm not sure everybody here is familiar with blockchain. Yeah. So there are three main concepts of blockchain. There are lots of things, but there's only enough time to cover three. First is mining. That is creating something that represents value. This process is done by burning coal at the moment, which creates emission. And second, in the blockchain, there is a consensus mechanism where the players can agree to a trading rule, like sending money or writing smart contracts where trades can happen. And third, not very often happening, which is the burning, which is destruction of assets. These are elements at work that is relevant to us in blockchain. And how that is relevant, because we can take these things and swap them for something more useful. So the mining process, which burns coal, the reason coal was burned for mining is because this is the only way you can get a attested result, value that can be attested on the blockchain. And the similar thing can be done. For example, if we have a tester, we can attest the activity such as forest restoration, which will replace, you can use that to replace the burning of coal in the blockchain process. And second, there is a consensus layer which decides the trading rules. You can replace that as well. It's just some software code. You can write it the way you want. And we can replace that with trading rules and wealth growth rules. This will incentivize the parties. For example, if you are able to restore forests, and the forests keep absorbing in the years to come, then you can write the rules so that the person who successfully restored forests take a dividend year by year, therefore incentivize them to maintain, to keep the project sustainable. And finally, there is the burning process, which is if you failed in blockchain, burning means the destruction of the value. And in the new project we're working on, burning will mean that projects such as restoration of forest has failed and token no longer have value. This will be done through some.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. We are going to continue with you again, but I need to have another view on that, because we still at the university. When you hear what we are saying, it's still looking really complicated to understanding. We have just near of you a person coming from the same project or the same vision who have also a mind on that issue. Philippe, can you say what can you say about this blockchain?
Well, I can say things about the blockchain, but I can also comment on the natural-based solutions, and that is, as sustain a clause in conscience land, which of course includes Uganda, it includes Mexico, it includes Cameroon, it includes Australia and Canada. What we're talking about is we're part of nature. Human beings are part of nature too, and those solutions have to come from human beings.
Yeah.
The trees, of course, have to be reforested. The land has to be regenerated.
Yeah.
But the action is human, and that's the real crisis. The crisis is that we've lost our conscience. And in conscience land, as you've already heard throughout this COP26 we're at now, 26 conference, is that that we need to ask the question of ourselves and our leaders: do you have a conscience? And do you act on your conscience? Are you planting trees? Are you consuming, in a sustainable fashion, and so on? Now, when it comes to blockchain, blockchain is, as Weiwu was pointing out so eloquently, blockchain is a decentralized solution. So it's based on human activity, human, individual, peer-to-peer, human connections and relationships. It's not a centralized system. It is not a dictate of the governments or nations on how things are going to play out. It's a thing that you make decisions on yourself. You hold a wallet, you hold the keys, you're responsible for it, and you're responsible for the decisions you make in relation to that. So
another question coming to my head right now when I'm listening to what you are saying is that as you are talking about blockchain as the base or the new approach, do you think that is the approach that we need to launch, or is another approach that we need to have? Which approach do you think we should have, which can help us to develop the nature-based solution?
Well, clearly it's a combination of all of these things. We are not on the blockchain now. Blockchain is a new technology, and it's a somewhat complex technology, as you've heard. So we're not expecting populations around the world to jump over to blockchain thinking, not at all. That's why Weiwu and his business is very much about the interface. How do we get this happening in an easy, in fact, blockchain's in the background. You don't even know it's blockchain. It's just that it is decentralized, it is immutable. Immutable meaning it can't be distorted, it can't be cheated, it can't be corrupted, and it's distributed. And
thank you, Philip. Thank you for this good presentation and explanation. I hope that every people who is online can understand what it's all about, blockchain and the issue of nature-based solution. I'll go back to you, Weiwu. How do you think, I would like to talk about consultation. Which consultation are we needed to have a nature-based solution be applied in the fields in our community? Which kind of consultation we need?
Sorry, consultation?
Consultation. Which kind of framework we need?
Yep. So blockchain is a technology that doesn't touch whatever natural-based solution is about. It doesn't care if it's restoration of forests or sustainable agriculture. It doesn't care about this. What blockchain is it's a framework to let parties to work together and reward the parties who have done the right thing. And you have to set up the rules so that these right parties who have done the right thing are properly rewarded. For example, corporates should not be rewarded by planting trees. They should be rewarded by absorption. Now, for that to work, the framework we need to put into place is for every nation, there has to be a national framework where a few types of players are involved. First, attesters has to be involved. Attesters are those who evaluate the result of natural-based solutions. Attesters can be satellites who monitors the carbon absorption, and it can be community leaders who evaluates whether or not the development is in line with the community goal. Otherwise, it won't be sustainable. The other type of player is operators. So these are the people who carry on the task. So who, for example, carry on the task of restoring forest, and they have incentive because their work will be paid by a token, which will materialize in form of money if the forest restoration was successful and sustained in years to come. They can also sell this as an asset, which maximizes their profit by tapping on market liquidity, which brings us to the third party, which is the market participation, that we need open, free competition in this field for these players. That's the framework.
Thank you, Wewo. This is, we really understand what you are saying. I would like now to switch to Uganda once again, and I would like to have you, Moses. Moses, which approach and consultation or framework do you think is necessary to realize a nature-based solution in our strategy at the national level?
I think something that we have to first acknowledge when we talk about nature-based solutions and to a national level or an international level is that when something goes to a national level and an international level, it becomes political. Yeah. It's politicized. So we have to first get it from the political leaders who are actually using it as a phrase to score political points to their campaigns and whatever it is. So I think we have to get it to the communities, and that's what my colleague from Mexico talked about and what he's talking about. We have to put it to the level where everyone can participate in natural-based solutions. So when we have societies that are actually contributing, now when we talk about like indigenous people, 80% of the indigenous people, actually 80% of the biodiversity that we have on this planet is protected by indigenous people, who are actually 6% of the population, of the global population. So basically, those are the people that are supposed to be given the tools, the finances we need to get it from the political level to the community level. And how are we going to get it there? We have to make sure that we actually equip these people with the knowledge. We give these people the knowledge of how they are going to perhaps earn a living from, because we have to acknowledge, I'm talking on a national level, that the countries that we come from, like Uganda, the country that I come from, people are living in destitute. People are poor. So we have to acknowledge that they have to get something from whatever they are doing. If you're talking about reforestation, are they earning something? Because they need to be motivated to have the zeal to actually protect the environment. So that's why I'm talking about coming up with sustainable investments that are not only just earning them something, but also eco-friendly. When we talk about afforestation, what are they going to be earning from afforestation? Maybe come up with other conservative projects, like giving them incentives like growing vegetables where they're going to sell and earn a living from. And also maybe when we talk about atrocities that we've seen, like destruction of forests, let's just say, are we talking about conservative projects like beekeeping, something where they're going to be earning a living and they'll be motivated to actually protect the trees? When we talk about swamp reclamation, like my friend is going to talk about water, I mean, we need conservation projects that are actually going to be earning a living for them, like a fish farming, and also leave the biodiversity intact. So we have to get the national-based solutions from being a political thing to the community thing, and we have also to make sure that we equip the communities, the locals down on the ground, actually to have the finances to take on the solutions that will be there, if it's a reforestation, if it's something else. And also we have to, when we talk about education and equipping them with maybe finances and knowledge, it doesn't mean that we have to get our preconceived notions that we come from the diplomatic areas like this one and all that stuff, and we take them there, because those people are equipped with enough knowledge. So basically we have to learn from each other and learn how we are going to protect the whole thing.
Thank you, Mr. Thank you. You are really, you touch a point which is really essential, education, and also education not just coming from us, not just that kind of education that means that we are going to learn something to the community, but education means that we have to go in through that community and see how we can exchange with them and learn from them. Because we are living in the city and people living in the forest sometimes can bring us a lot of information. I would like to go into Mexico once again and to see more, Lorena. Lorena, at your level, how do you see, how do you perceive another way after what we have already learned, how we already heard about what is happening in Uganda? How do you think at your level and the level of the South of America, where you are coming from, which kind of consultation do we need to be sure that nature-based solution can be part of our national strategy?
Yes, I couldn't agree more with you that it has to come from community-based solutions. And like these past few weeks here, we have heard every country and some governments talked about that, but and corporations talk about nature-based solutions, but also like these corporations that have funded ecocides and genocides, even some governments. So I couldn't agree more that it has to come from community-based solutions, and that we have a lot to learn from the communities who are literally there resisting every day and every disaster. So yes.
Yes, coming from community and going back with my colleague Serge. Serge, comment est-ce que tu penses, quelles sont les approches à ton niveau et les concertations qui peuvent être nécessaires pour réaliser des solutions basées sur la nature qui, à notre niveau, pourront impacter sur les politiques que nous avons dans nos pays?
Merci pour la question. Je vais d'abord commencer par dire que Moses a soulevé un point essentiel là, le fait de l'implication des politiques, des gouvernements. Parce que là, on parle là des communautés locales. Et si on parle des solutions basées sur la nature, ça signifie forcément qu'au préalable, ces communautés avec une certaine, si on peut ici dire, ils avaient déjà, comment on peut dire, une certaine
collaboration. Pour aller un peu plus vite.
Bon, au niveau de l'éducation, on peut dire que l'approche, on peut avoir une approche anthropologique, oui, anthropologique, sociale, aller vers ces communautés, les sensibiliser, s'acquérir de leurs connaissances et relever aussi le fait qu'ils peuvent en un point les former, peut-être avec on peut les décerner des certificats après formation et le renforcement des capacités, quoi.
Thank you, Serge. As we already said, Serge is talking about how we can lead a training session for community and also how we can learn. All of us here are unanimous on that question. We have to learn from community. We have to be together with community and working with them. Madame Ebodé, je reviens vers vous pour essayer un tant soit peu de comprendre un peu plus à votre niveau. Nous savons qu'au Cameroun, par exemple, les communautés communautés qui vivent autour des forêts vivent énormément des PFNL, les produits forestiers non ligneux, et que la protection de ces produits forestiers non ligneux là peuvent être une approche en matière de conservation de la nature, c'est-à-dire encourager les communautés à produire cela. Au-delà de ce genre d'initiatives qui sont conduites au niveau local, qu'est-ce que vous pensez qui peut être fait en termes d'approche stratégique pour suffisamment impliquer les communautés dans les discussions qui sont actuellement en cours autour de la question des solutions basées sur la nature?
Ce que je sais pour le moment, c'est que lorsque nous essayons d'approcher les communautés locales dans les approches, habituellement, ce que nous faisons, c'est une approche participative. Il faut les encourager, il faut les accompagner à comprendre ce qu'ils sont en train, ce qu'ils doivent faire. Troisièmement, il faut renforcer la responsabilité. Je ne sais pas si ça se comprend. La responsabilité, pourquoi? Puisque si on ne les renforce pas, ils ne sauront jamais gérer ce que vous amenez pour leur bien et pour leur intérêt commun. Donc la meilleure...
Renforcer la responsabilité des communautés, renforcer les capacités des communautés, leur donner les moyens d'agir et de comprendre les enjeux qui sont les leurs. Je crois qu'on s'achemine progressivement vers la fin de cette session, mais avant de terminer cette session, nous allons faire un dernier tour de table. As we are going to the end of that session, I would like to give a last word. Philippe, if you have a last word to say about this issue, what can you say?
The issue of
nature-based solution, how to integrate the nature-based solution in the strategy, the climate strategy at the local level.
I'm in agreement with everyone's comments, especially Madame has pointed out about individual social responsibility.
Yeah.
The individual is responsible for their own behavior. I think if we in the world, as all peoples of the world, can just start to take individual social responsibility, ISR, in conscience land, we begin to act on our conscience, we begin to make the solutions for ourselves, and we don't make problems for each other, and we don't make problems for the earth. So that is the integrative element. It's us. We must begin to save ourselves and our planet along with the sustainees, Roger the Reality Rooster.
Thank you,
and
Philip.
people.
I would like to switch to our friend who is with us today. After blockchain, a part of blockchain, what can you say on nature-based solution? How can we integrate the nature-based solution in our strategy, national strategy to fight against climate change?
So I'm technified, so it's difficult to talk without technology. But every country will have a very different situation when they apply nature-based solutions. And there will be very different ways to evaluate the success of it. And there will be a different way to motivate people to participate. These are very important factors. And what I hope is the government can be very pragmatic and utilize everything, including technology. Sorry about technology again. And also make policies based on not only on the wish of the people, but also based on how practically technology can be applied, including blockchain in the different sectors.
Thank you, Wawu. After have technology, to put technology in place, we need policy, right? As we need policy, which kind of policy do we need? Your last word, Lorena.
Policy, I think that a policy that considers like human rights and everything, even though it's nature-centered, like not forget people who are in that fight and that many times their human rights are not being respected. So I think like a key thing to put into consideration in the policy that's being made, it's human rights.
Okay, you propose that the solution can be made based on human rights. As we know, the decentralization is actually actually something that we need in Africa. Everywhere in Africa, when we would like to put in place a strategy, it's really important to have decentralization. What do you think, as last word, we can use, how we can use decentralization in Uganda to improve solution-based, nature-based solution in our local policy?
I think Uganda doesn't differ from any other part of the world when it gets to decentralization or doing something that is supposed to be reaching the ground. I'll actually, I think, agree with my colleague from Canada and her about, he talked about the consciousness of our leaders and everything. So I think that's something that we have to actually take to the communities and make sure that they understand their individual responsibility like she talked about, because what we have is not that the policies are not there, like you're asking her to actually talk about maybe a formulation of the policy. The policies are there actually right now, but the problem is that the implementation of those policies, the leaders, the kind of leaders that we have in power that are supposed to be implementing those policies. So I think we need to make sure that the consciousness of the individuals in the communities actually get to a certain level where they can vote leaders to power who actually can do something about the policies that are already there. So I think equipping our communities with the knowledge and maybe the opportunities to actually choose leaders that are actually conscious about environmental policies and nature-based solution policies, to actually talk about them, to make sure that they benefit the communities, because these policies that we are talking about, nature-based solutions, those are solutions that are actually going to help us solve societal problems like water crisis, which is a human right, food security. We are talking about like 30 million people in Africa who actually suffering from famine. So basically, I think we need the kind of leaders who are willing and ambitious enough to actually do something about.
Thank you, Moses. I would like to go back to you, Madame Ebode. Je reviens vers vous, Madame Ebode, pour parler. Il a abordé la problématique de la qualité des leaders que nous devons avoir. Moses talked about the quality of the leader that we should have at the local level to improve the solution based on nature and to influence the policy so that we have it in the strategy. Donc, en fait, ce que je voudrais savoir à votre niveau un peu, comment est-ce que on peut faire pour qu'au niveau local, on puisse avoir des leaders qui soient sensibles à la question des solutions basées sur la nature. Comment pensez-vous qu'au niveau local, au niveau du Cameroun, cela peut être possible d'influencer les leaders, la qualité des leaders?
Merci de m'avoir posé cette question. Nous savons tous déjà que les solutions basées sur la nature font une participation financière forte, puisqu'on doit faire ce que nous appelons la transformation, la réorientation pour les systèmes. Ce n'est plus le même système que nous avons, que nous allons continuer avec. Il faut chercher à adapter d'autres systèmes afin d'atteindre le but fixé. Alors, comme leader, nous parlerons de leader ici, que celui qui peut amener ses actions dans une bonne direction, avec la participation, comme je venais de le dire, de la communauté concernée et les acteurs. Qu'est-ce que cela veut dire? Ça veut dire que ces acteurs, les communautés même, doivent suivre toutes les actions, apprendre aux communautés à dresser un plan de travail, un budget, comment diriger leurs biens.
Oui, merci, Madame Ebode. Je crois que la question elle est claire. Madame Ebode is talking about how we can, she said that we should learn to the community how it's essential for them to choose the good leaders. because sometimes they are not choosing the good leaders. They be afraid, or they choose a leader just because they have money. We need to choose a good leader if we need to have a good result on what we need, on what we would like to do at the local level. So avant de partir, on s'achemine déjà vers la fin de cet échange. Je vais demander à Serge de revenir sur l'influence. Il est important, Moïse parlait d'influencer le leadership en place. Comment peut-on, à travers l'éducation, car je sais que vous êtes un éducateur, influencer le leadership, le choix du leadership en place? How, through the education, we can have an influence on leadership that we have in place?
Oui, merci Blondel. On parle là, dans le cas du Cameroun, on parle d'éducation inclusive. Donc, dans l'inclusivité, il y a en quelque sorte l'implication et il y a aussi, d'une part, on évite la discrimination. Un leader, c'est un meneur, c'est quelqu'un qui devra en principe avoir certaines qualités. Et je crois que cela va d'abord de la formation. C'est-à-dire qu'il faudrait qu'on le prenne au sérieux et qu'on essaye comme elle a dit tantôt, essayer de les orienter, pour qu'ils sachent où ils vont, et de cette façon, ils pourront mieux appréhender mieux la chose. Et je peux dire quoi, ils peuvent, en d'autres termes, mener bien.
Thank you, Serge. What Serge is saying is that we need to improve. If we need to shift the leadership and to have a good leadership at the local level, we need to starting at the level of quality of training that we provide to community. We need some time to improve the level, or to make sure that community have a better training or have a good understanding of the topic. We should work on that. I cannot leave this panel without coming back to you, Mr. Philip, because I know that you have something to add on that topic. So, Philip, what can you say on that issue? How can we train, or how can we influence leadership?
You can see that I'm straining at the bit like a horse, you know.
Yeah.
So Sustainaclaws, these are all the opinions of Sustainaclaws in Conscience Land. But on this issue, it's very important what Weiwu was just speaking about in terms of blockchain technology.
Yep.
You will be surprised, you will be shocked what will happen over the next, let's say, 10 years. These leaders will not come, they will come from your communities, but it will be blockchain, AI, artificial intelligence. It will be the determination of who is actually a good manager, who is actually managing the community in the best possible way. I used to work for the Chinese Academy of Sciences Research Center for Eco-Environmental Science in Beijing, and what we were talking about, this is 15 years ago, what we were talking about is GDP. But we were actually talking about...
What is GDP?
GDP.
What is it all about? Can you give an emphasis on that?
Yeah, well, let's not talk about GDP, because GDP is what all of us talk about all the time. But what we were talking about at that point was that we need ways that leaders are not trying to achieve GDP in their communities. They are serving their communities in the best way. The reforestation, the water issues, all of these things, they're serving their communities. Now, this is where blockchain, for example, comes in. Because, as Weiwu was pointing out, this surveillance by satellite of the forests, of the SDG, what we call in Conscience Land, the SDG plots, you know, the places where these Sustainable Development Goals are being achieved, right, by the community, by stewards of the earth in each community. They are rewarded peer-to-peer through a DAO, through a decentralized autonomous organization in the blockchain. This will determine who the leaders are. The leaders will come from those who are stewards of the community and stewards of the earth. They will be the ones that will be rising to leadership positions, not the corrupt ones, not the ones with more army, you know, greater number of thugs than the next person. And that's the way we've had civilization for the last many thousands of years, but this has to change, because we cannot continue on that path. So that's my biting at the bit. I believe that things will change significantly in the very short future, because we can't, as human beings, we cannot continue to be corrupt. We must have either AI overlords, or we take on the stewardship positions ourselves and are rewarded with the systems that Wewu was talking about.
Okay, thank you, Philip. Really, it's really interesting to hear what you are saying. I'm really happy to understand that there's another view, there's another people, there are people around the world who have the same idea that we are sharing in Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the end of our session of today. We are really pleased to have you for this session to talking about how to strengthen the solution, the nature-based solution in our national engagement on climate. We have coming from Mexico, Lorena. Coming from Uganda, we have Moses. Coming from Cameroon, we have Serge and Madame Ebode. We have from Australia, Mr. Wewu. And from Canada, we have our king, which is our Sono close. We have Philip. I'm Blondel Silenu, coming from Cameroon too. Really pleased to meet you for another session. Take care of you shortly. Goodbye.